Not long now until the polls shut, but before that we thought we'd squeeze this in because comedian Dane Baptiste made death threats on social media towards what appears to be a Jewish woman. He said, "A quick message to the Zionist comedian stalking my family's page. I want you to sit down with your husband and kids and imagine what their lives will be without you, because North London is a quick trip to make, and a think tank will have to be an actual tank to keep you safe from me. Ask about, and comedians will tell you, I will be at your literal doorstep. Your agent won't keep you safe, and I'll sit in prison while your family sits at the cemetery. First and last warning, your act is dumb, but don't be a dumb woman for your own safety." Well, I mean, there was a little bit of consternation about this. Josh Howie was tweeting about it as well. Yeah, I mean, making the point, really, that Dane was threatening to murder a Jewish colleague and was allowed to carry on performing. He wasn't cancelled. I mean, we are against cancel culture here at GB News, but it does seem as though that was quite an extreme threat. He hasn't appeared to face any backlash, really, whatsoever. So I want to know, is there a double standard when it comes to comedy on whether or not you can get cancelled, whether you're on the left or you're on the right? I'm joined now by comedians Josh Howie and Dave Chorner. Chaps, thank you very much. Look, Josh, I'll start with you there because you've already been quoted in this piece. Do you think there is a double standard when it comes to comedy and who gets cancelled and who doesn't?
Yeah, frankly. It's a shame that this kind of tribalism exists. And I'm not a fan of cancel culture at all, but this is, you know, threats of murder, and that takes it to a whole new level. So there has been tribalism on the left. And if I'm honest, within comedy, and as a traditional lefty in the comedy world, I've been perfectly happy being as smug as everybody else. But then when my eyes were kind of awoken to Corbynism and suddenly that tribalism worked against me, it was eye-opening and disturbing.
Yeah, Dave, I mean, your views on this. I wonder if there was, you know, if a right-wing comedian had tweeted actual death threats to someone, I'm not convinced they'd be working again, would they?
You see, I'm not going to specifically talk about Dane at all, but what I would say, I don't think there is any sort of unhandedness. I mean, I'll be honest, Patrick, I've been trying to get cancelled for years, but, like, nobody knows who I am, so it's hard to do that. I don't think there is a double standard when it comes to right and left. And you know what? I actually think most people don't really fit into right and left. Actually, I think most people have different views, whether you're basing on it, like, socially or whether you're talking about general. I don't think people are just right and just left.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with you, Dave. Sorry, in that sense, and I think a lot of the issues that are talked about on GB News and in the wider public aren't actually left or right issues at all. But there's no doubt that the stand-up comedy world is very much overwhelmingly left-wing and is dominated by, you know, thinking the right things, doing the right things, saying the right things. And we've seen that over the last years. And I didn't think it was that way until I sort of evidenced it for myself, where certain issues would come up and you'd see people just not being brave, not speaking out about it, not joking about it.
I mean, this guy, Dane Baptiste, has been on the telly a lot. He's got quite a big profile, really, often commenting on political views, often from the left, some might say far left. You know, and you see this message here about, I want you to sit down with your husband and kids, imagine what their lives will be like without you. He's saying he's essentially going to turn up on their doorstep, the agent won't keep you safe. I mean, that is vile, Dave, no?
As I say, I'm not commenting on Dane, but to speak to Josh's point about sort of people don't talk about certain things, I literally did a gig yesterday and someone was talking about how they were mocking someone who was disabled, but they were doing it in a kind of inclusive way because they would mock anyone else. I saw people who were talking, like Jewish acts talking about Palestine very openly. I don't think there is a double standard. I genuinely don't.
OK.
Yeah, but yet we see Jerry Sadowitz being cancelled from his show in Edinburgh. We've seen other comics receiving abuse for their material in the past. And also you've seen very sad self-censorship. I will say, I think it's weird, Dave, that you won't comment about Dane when you can't just say, look, it's disgusting, it's mental. I will also say Dane has been on GB News. He's been on Headliners a couple of times. But this is beyond his rhetoric, and those are real threats.
It's unhinged.
I also think there's something to be said as well in a social media age. Whatever you look at, whatever makes you angry, your feed serves up more. So I think that actually a lot of right-wing comics get away with a hell of a lot more than left-wing comics. But for someone who probably has the opposite inclination, they probably think that left-wing comics get away with so much more than right-wing comics. I think it's because of the news that is being served to you is now...
but we've had comedians... Yeah, Josh, we've had comedians cancelled because they believe in biological fact. We've had Ricky Gervais copping a load of stuff because he made a joke about how it's mostly lads coming across the English Channel. I mean, you've got a guy there. That guy will be back on the BBC, probably soon. He'll be back working away.
I might disagree with you there, Patrick. I think it's terrible that he was gigging that night. There was half a day that happened, and he should never have been on stage that night. The police should have been directly involved. I have to say the Met Police still haven't been around to the woman concerned and interviewed her yet, which is more than 24 hours later. Okay. But his agents have dropped him. But what I've not seen on the circuit, and I think it addresses the point that you're raising, is condemnation from my colleagues to protect a woman, a Jewish woman, who has received a death threat from one of her colleagues. And we're in an era of microaggressions and comics stepping up and to make a brave stand on so many issues. Yeah. But compared to this, they're nothing, yet they're still silent. Or the majority, a few have said something, but a lot have been silent.
All right, look, both of you, we are going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid, because we're massively pressed for time. That clock in the bottom corner of the screen is ticking away as we close in on the polls being shut. But both of you, look, thank you. So, look, I want to know, OK, is there a double standard when it comes to comedy? What do you reckon about all of this? I'll be going to your views shortly. But I will just read out Dane Baptiste's latest post, which is in the recent past, which was 2 days ago. But anyway, in the recent past, I've received a number of threatening and abusive messages from accounts accusing me of anti-Semitism and having pro-Palestinian views. I have a new family, and my partner made me aware that some of the same people were monitoring our Instagram account. In a massive error of judgment, I posted an excessive and impulsive response, hoping to dissuade anybody monitoring my family. I made a point to say Zionist and not Jewish, but I appreciate how disturbing, threatening and incendiary that language is. I would categorically state I have no ill intention towards the Jewish community and never have. I have a loving family of which I'm massively protective of. I reacted poorly and emotionally to a perceived threat with no considered thought to the consequences. Coming up, the polls are about to snap shut for local elections across the country and the Blackpool by-election as well. We'll be looking into all of that. But next, French President Emmanuel Macron has called all European nationalists hidden Brexiteers.